Descartes wants us to consider a piece of wax.
But this evil genius can never fool me.
This is the foundation for all scientific pursuits.
Everything but the cogito, if we don't have God in the equation, will end up as being vague and shifting opinions. Cogito ergo sum. Probably one of the most famous quotes in all of philosophy history. In today's episode, we will be discussing his book, Meditations.
The Meditations was published originally in 1641, and it certainly was a continuation of his ideas that he wrote about in the Discourse on Method. The original name of the book was Meditations on a First Philosophy, in which the existence of God and the immortality of the soul are demonstrated.
When Descartes was stationed at Neuburg when he was in the Catholic army, he locked himself up in a room in order to escape the cold winter. And when he fell asleep, he had 3 very odd dreams. And it was especially one of them. When he woke, he believed that the dream must have been conjured up by an evil genius who was doing everything in its power in order to deceive him.
I shall suppose, therefore, that there is not a true God who is the sovereign source of truth, but some evil demon no less cunning and deceiving than powerful, who has used all his artifice to deceive me. I will suppose that the heavens, the air, the earth, colors, shapes, sounds, and all external things that we see are only illusions and deceptions which he uses to take me in.
This dream made Descartes realize that it is possible to doubt everything in the universe. The whole universe might be conjured up by an evil genius. But this evil genius can never fool me in believing that I don't exist. The cogito is 100% bulletproof.
So if the cogito is bulletproof, what does this imply? What is the definition of the mind? Well, here Descartes writes, "But what, then, am I? A thing that thinks." What is a thing that thinks? That is to say, a thing that doubts, perceives, affirms, denies, wills, does not will, that imagines also, and which feels.
So if I am a thinking thing, and I can know for certain that I exist, then what about the rest of the world? Well, according to Descartes, it is a mistake in believing that matter doesn't exist. Matter do exist, but is distinctly different than the mind.
So what is matter then? Descartes wants us to consider a piece of wax that recently have been taken from a beehive. Let us consider the properties of this piece of wax. It is cold and has a certain shape. There is still some sweetness from the honey with a flowery smell, and when you tap it, it emits a sound. But if I were to place it close to a flame, it would melt, and after it, all the properties I spoke of is gone. It's no longer cold, and its shape has changed. The sweetness is gone, and there is no sound when you tap on it. But it certainly is the same piece of wax. So it seems that the properties we talked about wasn't essential to the piece of wax, since all of them are gone and it is still the same piece of wax. But there is one property that remained throughout the process, that of being extended in space.
So here we have two very separate entities or substances, mind and matter, brain and soul. This is also called dualism, in contrast with monism, which is the idea that the entire universe consists of one element alone.
So the essential properties of the soul is to think, to doubt, perceive, affirm, deny, will, not to will, imagine and feel. And the essential property of matter is simply to be extended in space. But one might object and say that there is many different types of mind and matter. But Descartes would reply that they are only different modes of these two distinct substances. The whole universe consists of either matter or mind.
Well, yeah, this really sounds like a ghost in the machine kind of theory, right? And it really is. But I do think that Descartes has a point. Let's think of a box. It is meaningful to ask questions of the box such as, how big is the box? How much does the box weigh? Or what color is the box? But this becomes absurd when you ask the same questions about human thought. How much does your thought weigh? What's the shape of your thoughts?
And certainly the idea I have of the human mind, inasmuch as it is a thinking thing, and not extended in length, breadth, and depth, and does not participate in anything that pertains to the body, is incomparably more distinct than the idea of any corporeal object. Another fundamental difference between the mind and matter, as Descartes saw it, is the nature of divisibility. Matter is naturally divisible, while mind, on the other hand, is one complete and single entity which cannot be divided. If you're interested, do check out Derek Parfit's paper on personal identity, which is a heavy critique of the indivisibility of the mind.
So what do you guys think? Does Descartes have a point? Or is the brain and its thoughts of the same substance? Please leave a comment down below. I would like to hear your thoughts. As we discussed in the last episode, we have to have God in the equation, otherwise the cogito will end up in a solipsistic nightmare. So apparently for Descartes, one proof of God wasn't sufficient. So here he deploys his second proof.
Because I cannot conceive a mountain without a valley, it does not follow that there is any mountain in the world, or any valley, but only that the mountain and the valley, whether they exist or not, cannot in any way be separated from one another. Whereas because I cannot conceive God without existence, it follows that existence is inseparable from him, and hence that he truly exists.
So God guarantees all other knowledge. And René says that everything but the cogito, if we don't have God in the equation, will end up as being vague and shifting opinions.
Let me elaborate a little bit. Let's say that this sphere is the cogito, and as Descartes saw it, this is the foundation for all scientific pursuits, such as math, physics, anatomy, etc. But these different disciplines are in no way connected to each other. So God becomes this link that connects the cogito to all other clear and distinct ideas within the sciences. This concept is also called foundationalism, Not to be confused with fundamentalism.
Descartes was very much criticized during his own time, and especially ours. For instance, if one take a beginner's course in logic, one learns that the cogito, I think therefore I am, isn't even logically sound.
I think, therefore I am. This argument only has one premise and one conclusion. If you would change it to formal logic, one easily realizes that this is not a sound argument. A, therefore B. And if this truly was a sound argument, I would be able to switch out the letters to whatever I like. For instance, meatballs, therefore spaghetti.
Well, obviously the logic doesn't hold, because here in Sweden we more often eat meatballs with potatoes and not spaghetti. So you're wrong, Monsieur Descartes. Here comes a couple of thoughts of my own. Well, obviously the logic of the cogito doesn't hold, but I still think there's something to it. Because if we're trying to get to something that is undoubtable, I think René came pretty close.
The issue I find is that there actually is one more thing that can be doubted, which is this thing that doubts, the cogito, the thing that actually performs the doubting? Or is the cogito simply the thing that observes something that performs the doubt?
No matter how you think about it, there is at least something which is undoubtable. The thing that experiences the thing that performs the doubt itself, whatever that may be. Oh, deep stuff. As always, thank you guys so much for watching. Take care until the next one.